Hey everybody, I'm Brian with Fort Knox Company and I'm going to show you how to install some recessed lights. And this right here is what it'll look like when we're all done. We have 8 recessed lights here in this area. We have our fans that are centered. I will show you how to install these, some different measurements that you might want to consider, different sizes and areas on where and how you might want to space them, but it's pretty easy. I'll put links for these in the video and you can follow me along. These are new construction 6-inch LED 12 packs. They're from Sunco Lighting. I love using these products. I've used them in the shop. They make all kinds of lights, recessed lights, mounts, retrofit. This is for new construction, but they have a lot of similar kits that come in 12, 24 packs. You can also buy the kits that plug directly in for the lights. I got those as well. But this right here will be the can light. I'll show you how to install them and how to run all the electrical from the switch to the lights to make sure that they all work in series. And before we get super deep into this, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. It really helps me out. And if you're interested on how to do things yourself, DIY, new construction, renovations, whatever it is, consider subscribing because I'll be doing everything in this casita. We're doing drywall, electrical, plumbing. I'll do a lot of different renovations on this channel. I'll show you step by step on how to do it. So consider subscribing if you're interested in that. Either way, I appreciate it all. Let's go. So in this casita, we have 10-foot ceilings. And with 6-inch lights or 5-inch lights and 10-foot ceilings, they recommend a 4 to 5 foot spacing between your lights. That's just a recommendation. You can obviously go more or less. But in something like this where we have a small bathroom, we're gonna measure the width. We're gonna go right in the middle. We're also gonna have lights that go up above the sink. And then we're gonna have a light that goes inside the shower. Because this is roughly a 6 by 3, 4 foot shower, we'll probably do one centered. These LED lights that we're installing from Sunco, they have the adjustability for 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, the brightness, like how white or warm the light is. So we can adjust that in the future, but they give a lot of downward light. So we don't have to worry about putting 2 in a shower. Usually, unless you have a really big shower, you don't have to do more than 1. So we are almost 100 inches by 67, so we'll go right in the middle. Since we are 100 inches wide, we'll mark on the roof truss here on the rafter there, 50 inches. We'll mount our light. Then once we have it actually mounted, we can move it to center in the middle of the room. Really nice thing about these is they are fully adjustable. The arms expand both ways. They come with a nail already in place for you. They anchor down very easily. And they have these little feet right here that you can put up against the bottom of the truss or the piece of wood. That gives you a little bit of a reveal. They also have measurements inside here so you can see how deep you're going, how far you're going to protrude. You have adjustable screws, so if you want more reveal for the drywall, they come with a little gasket. Inside here, we have our electrical. This is where we're going to plug and play. It's nice that they give you a push connect with 3 because we're going to be supplying power and we're going to be running power to another one. So they have all these ready. So it's super quick when you go to actually feed our wires in, push connect, and then we move to the next one. So let's go ahead and nail this in place. Then I'll show you guys up close what it looks like when it's installed. Then we'll adjust it to center. This is what it looks like after we've nailed it in. You can see we have the little foot here that grabs. These nails go in pretty easy. I like to actually push this up. You can see where my mark is. I'll hold it there because it keeps both feet square. I'll do that. I'll center my light on my mark. I'll start these nails. Then I'll move it away so I can hit it properly. And then again, I'll push it this way because that gives me a square right here. Because if I have it this way, these arms are pretty flexible. And when you go to nail in this side, they'll sometimes flex, which isn't a big deal. But if you nail them in and they're a little bit too close and you try to adjust it all the way over, it could start to pinch. So push it this way, let these kind of sit where they naturally are, nail them in. Then again, we can take our middle measurement, we can line it up, tighten the set screw, we can move on to the next one. And for something like this, because it's a small bathroom, I just measure off the nearby wall. There is a couple tricks when you're doing it in a big room like next door. We have 8 of them going and 2 rows of 4. So I'll show you a technique with using a laser so you can make sure everything lines up perfect. So this right here is why I think it's invaluable to have a laser. I use it all the time when I'm doing things like lighting or hanging pictures or whatever it is, but you can get creative with it. So what I did is I marked some lines on the ground that will show my spacing to mirror it up to the ceiling. And by running the laser across those lines that are perfectly spaced on the ground, it transfers them up to the ceiling, and it made it really quick once I had to go and align all my lights. Let me show you. So right here, I marked with the Sharpie 36 inches out from the wall. We have another one over here that was out from the wall, 36 inches. I did the same thing across the room. You can see our laser runs all the way across. Right here, you can see, run across at 36 inches. I know I'm perfectly 36 inches from the actual wall because these roof trusses sometimes go at a little bit of an angle. So what might be 36 inches based off the roof truss, over here could be a little bit different if you're doing the spacing off the roof truss. We're gonna do it off of the actual floor and the walls and not the roof truss. So that way we mount our lights in between the roof truss and we can adjust them as we need to center them. And so that's how we got all these perfectly spaced. I'll show you here with the laser. We have everything perfectly lined up. And as I was nailing these in, we marked 55.5 inches across. So I knew I could start there. And I centered my brackets on that, centered my light. Then once I had these in there, I could move this over and I was able to hit it, tighten it down. I even sometimes crimp these so that they don't wiggle at all. And I just repeat that process. I knew that I was gonna be 55 inches on the inside of this to be able to use this cavity here. So I just went along and marked it, came with my ladder, nailed, did the same thing over there. Then with my laser, move, tighten, and move on. Another thing to consider is that it might not always make sense when you start to look at it. If you just look at the floor plan and you divide the room into 3s, that way you have a light on the 2 divides, if that makes sense. We have 3 pieces, and on that 2 divides in the middle, we put our lights. That actually put my lights a little bit too close because I ran fans down the middle. And because of the width of this room, it's very long and not as wide. When I started to mount them, it visually did not work. And also with a basic fan of 55 inches of a wingspan, it was gonna be tipping over those lights. And if you've ever seen it before, installing a recessed light under a fan will be super annoying when you start to turn that fan on and it's cutting the light beam and you have like a flicker effect. So something to think about is your spacing. So I got really good spacing in the middle and I wasn't too worried about getting them closer to the walls. That's not always so bad. These are big lights, so they're gonna put down a lot of light. They're 5-6 inch lights. Even with the 10-foot ceilings, it puts a lot of light down. So I'm not so much worried about that. They're gonna have a good intersection in the middle. But I wanted to make sure that aesthetically it looked right and that when I put the fan on, which also has a light in the middle, that I would have plenty of light and no fan blades going over those beams. And this is what I was talking about right here. If I was gonna center these lights on the 3s, so if I divide it into 3 pieces, they were actually gonna be on the inside and they'd be super close to the fan. So what I did is I bumped them out, and instead of going 4 feet over, I went just about 3. But what I did is I centered them on my windows. I know that when I framed the wall, I centered these 2 windows perfect. So now visually my lights will run with the windows, and then I'll have my fan running down the middle. That has a light as well. We have the same thing over here. We have 2 fans in this room. This room's gonna be a gym. Lots of light, very bright, and these things are dimmable, so you can make them as bright or as dim as you would like. We have 2 lights over here, which will be eventually a laundry room. We have another bathroom, single light, fan, light. So let me show you how we run the electrical to these now. We're gonna be running it from the switch and we're gonna daisy chain all these lights. So starting from the switch, I have my 12 gauge, this yellow here. This is 12 gauge Romex. I like to supply power to all of my outlets with the 12, and then I run my electrical for lighting, usually off the 14. This will still be a 15 amp circuit, but I like to run a heavier gauge to all my outlets because I might be sharing this power amongst other rooms of lights. So I like to use a heavier gauge for the power supply because I'm going to be using it in other places. Then I'll use the 14 gauge, which is the white, which will run up to my lights. So a quick walkthrough of how we're doing this. We're going to be tying in our grounds. We'll be tying these in together using one of these. I think these are the Wagos I don't even know how to pronounce it, but this is like a triple clamp. We'll be tying in our neutrals with this double, and then we'll be plugging in our blacks. And the reason we're tying in the neutrals and using the blacks on the switch, because the blacks, this just separates the hot current. This separates the power coming in, and it's either on or off. So we're breaking the circuit as it goes through the black, and then it will carry back through the white. We're gonna be daisy chaining all of the lights. So we're only creating the break between the black wires. Everything else is tied up together to continue through. So we have our neutrals tied together. We have our grounds tied together, 2 of them, so we can pigtail into the one here on the switch. And then we have our blacks tied into the switch. Now we can go up to the top and I'll start wiring in those can lights. So after the switch, we have our power coming up to our first light. We can pop open this box. You just push this little tab right here. Then you can see inside the box, we have our black, our white, and our green. This green is our ground here. We'll run this through the little punch out. We'll strip this wire back, we'll connect these, then we'll make a short run between every light. Now we have a short run of wire going to the next light. I'll come through the other punch out over here. We'll strip our wires, then push connect. So now we have power coming in. We have 3 neutrals, 3 hots, and 3 grounds. We can tuck these back into the box. Then we can put our plate back on. Now we're done. I also want to mention we need to put bushings right here. So I'm just showing you guys for the video how we wire this in. But normally we have a little bushing that goes here. So when you push the wire in, it actually pinches on it a little bit, won't give you any pullback. And also it prevents it from rubbing on these metal edges. You don't want any of this casing to be rubbing on anything metal that could eventually fray if for some reason it moves. So we usually protect any openings, especially sharp metal openings, with a bushing or a grommet. There's a couple different styles. I haven't installed them yet, but I just wanted to show you how this wires. But the wire goes in, we connect it, the wire comes out, and it runs over here to the next one. Then we just continue that all the way down. We'll jump over to that light and then we'll make it all the way back. And that's pretty much the basics of how to install these recessed lights. This is obviously new construction, so we have a lot more room to work. I'm obviously installing these and spacing these, but if for some reason you're doing like a renovation or the ones where you have to cut the holes, you just pop in the LED pucks. It doesn't use all the casings and all this metal stuff that you're seeing, but it's just a little LED puck, but we're running wires. Same thing with how we wire these and how we can kind of place them. Drill the holes, fish your wire through, and then you can connect them the same way. I really like these Sunco lights because they come with the push connects already there for you. So not only does it save you money on not having to buy those pieces yourself, but it saves you a lot of time. So once you have everything in place, it's really quick. Strip, connect, then you can move on to the next one, and next thing you know, you're done. And in case you're wondering how many lights you can install on one circuit, I've done some of the research. If you're using LED lights on a 15 amp circuit, you can run somewhere up to 50 plus LED lights depending on how intense they are. But there's some math that they do where they take the total wattage of the bulbs that you might have on a total circuit, because we have watts on the bulbs or the LEDs, how much they draw, and then we have amps on the circuit. So I know 50 or more sounds like a lot, but if you think about it, when you go into like an office building or a school or something like that, and they have hallways and rows and rows and rows of lights, a lot of those are on the same switch. That's because they're incandescent LED. They don't have a high draw. So you can put a lot of lights on a whole series, or you can also put multiple rooms on one circuit, because in total, I think we have less than 20 lights out of 3 different areas. For example, in this half the casita, we have the gym, the laundry room, and the bathroom lights. And in all 3 of those rooms, it's a total of 12 lights. They may or may not be all on at the same time, but if they are, it's not a problem. So don't worry about that. The technology these days with the LEDs gives us a lot of options, so we can have lots of light, and it also uses less energy. So there's a lot of benefits to that. And just in case you were wondering, you can put a lot of lights on these circuits. Then once we have everything installed, once you have your drywall up and you're ready to start finishing these lights out, Sunco also makes these dimmable LED inserts. They come like this. You can buy them in different pack amounts. They come with your alligator clips, pop them in. They come with these connections here, so you can either retrofit them into a fixture that already has a light bulb, screw it in like that, or what we'll be doing, since the cans have the connector in it, we'll disconnect this and we just connect these 2 right here. They have the option to be 2700, 3000, 35, 4, or 5K light. So this is your warm to bright white. Really clean looking, and I'll show you how easy they click in. This is the last step. These are for the cans, and these can also be for retro. If you want to go from a light bulb to an LED fixture, you can use these as well. This right here is inside the garage. We have 20 lights on this circuit. It's going to be really nice and bright in here. I'll probably have these ones set on the higher 4000 or 5000K, but let me show you how easily these install. Everything's wired in. We would have our drywall on, our finish. We have our connector here. This is where we'll plug this in. It's a quick little push connect. And then with these alligator clips, you can see these tabs right here. They're on both sides. What you'll do is pinch them together. You'll come on the inside there like that. And then as you push this light up, it will hold this in place up against the drywall. So we would do that for both sides, and your light will look like this. And then when we're ready, we push it up and it holds it flat against your drywall, has the seal. This is a really good look here. It's clean, it's flush. And again, this is new construction, but you can also use these to convert your old light bulb cans to new LED. And these you don't have to change out because they have thousands and thousands of hours of runtime, and you can save yourself some energy. So this whole entire garage and the whole entire casita will be with these. And on the top here, we have a switch to adjust what type of light we want. That is one of the biggest benefits, is buying a light that you can adjust, because it sucks buying light bulbs that are not the right brightness or warmness and then having to return them or being stuck. These, pop it down, flip the switch, and you can pop it right back in, and then you can have whatever look you want. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them there down below. I'm really good at getting back to them. I like helping you guys kind of work through some problems. There are some unique scenarios where you can wire multiple rooms or do different lights in different areas or different spacings. It's really up to you. It's nice that you can do it yourself. These Sunco lights are just one of the many brands that are out there, but I like using them. I'll link a couple different options here in the video, but they all work really good. I haven't had any problems with them, and the LED lights do last a very long time, so you're not going to be changing out the bulbs. They come with a lot of the quick connect options that are interlinkable with different brands, so if you install these types of cans, you can install other brands of lights. But once again, thank you for watching. If you haven't already, hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next build.